maybe their biggest contenders here in the West, Shane. Let's kick it all down to Tuscaloosa, where, oh boy, when we're talking about Bryce Young just scratching the surface and getting better as a player, my God, I mean, that should scare each and every one of us, Shane. But that's kind of the message. Bill O'Brien, he gets to speak to the media once a year, twice if they make the college football playoff. So we had to use his comments here to hypes up Bryce Young and the improvements he's made this offseason, as well as incoming receivers Jermaine Burton and Tyrell Harrell from Louisville. How are those guys fitting into the Alabama offense? Let's kick it over to Bill O'Brien.
You mentioned the wide receiver group in your opening. You guys have to replace a lot of production there, but you added a couple of veteran players from the transfer portal. Just what do you think that Jermaine Burton and Tyler Harrell can bring to this offense?
Yeah, those guys have stepped in with the addition of, Ja'Cory Brooks coming back from last year, some of the younger players that have stepped in. It's a very hard-working group. They're well coached by Coach Wiggins. He does a really good job with that group. It's a group that has, again, kind of like the offensive line, a mixture of veteran players, whether they came from other programs, and also this mixture of young guys that are in that group. So working very hard early in training camp. We like the presence that Jermaine Burton has brought to that position, Tyler Harrell, the presence that those guys have brought to that position. But again, just like the offensive line, it'll continue to develop over time. We're early in camp, like I've said, and we'll see how it all shakes out over the next few weeks.
We'll go left middle with Michael. With that group, what have you seen in terms of the challenge from the guys who returned at receiver when they have two transfers come in and compete with that?
I think that's a great question. I think that's the way of the world in college football, right? I mean, I'll leave a lot of that to Coach Saban, and he can, I'm sure he's been asked about that. But I think when you think about the portal and you think about the different things, that's just the way it is. You're always going to try to do what's best for your football team. That's what Coach Saban always tries to do. And so if there's a guy out there or two guys out there that you think can help your football team and they're interested in coming here, then that's something that we'll always explore. So the addition of those guys, they're hardworking guys, they're good guys, they're good teammates. It's been, to me, at this point, a seamless transition.
You brought up Bryce Young in your opening statement, and I wanted to ask about the benefits of being able to have him in your system for a second season. You already had a great year last year, but what room for improvement do you see in his game, and is there room for improvement?
There's always room for improvement. I think when you look at last year, we studied a lot of his play last year, what we did offensively last year. We've got some new staff members that have brought in new ideas. We've talked to Bryce about these new ideas in addition to maybe some things we both can improve on. I'm in this offense for the second year. He's going into his third year in this offense. So hopefully you'll see improvement just in knowledge of scheme and how to use that scheme against the different defenses we're going to see. But Bryce is always looking to improve. Every single day he comes in there, he's somebody that goes out to the practice field and really is striving for perfection every single day, and that's a great guy to coach.
Shane, did you know Bryce Young? I mean, is it possible to be even better at football than he was last year?
Well, I love it. It's like, the only way he can get better is if he watches himself play and then critique himself and make himself a little bit better. I mean, what do you do with a Heisman winner? It's like, no, you obviously it's coach speak. You got to come out. You got to say there's always room for improvement, but. Yeah. But that's where we're at with Bryce, man. We are fine-tuning. We are creating a first pick of the NFL draft potentially here, and you do that by the small details. So obviously there are some things that he can work on. They didn't hold the national championship trophy at the end of the year, and that's their motivation. And it starts with Bryce, it ends with Bryce. So I think this is great, man. This is what you want to hear from a fan if you're an Alabama fan.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen this, Shane, but anybody that's missed it, go to Twitter and type in Bryce Young incompletion reel, and it's like 4 minutes of him just dropping incredible passes that his receivers are dropping. And I think the comment was his incompletion reel is better than most quarterbacks' actual reel. I mean, he's one of a kind. You know what?
He really is. They got him a good one. And we say it every year. It's like Tua or Jay. I mean, it doesn't matter. Alabama's been loaded at quarterback for a long time. And this is just another plug and play for them. This is another kid that's going to have longevity in the NFL.
Yeah, and same deal with Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator. We don't get him that often. It's too bad because he's got himself a personality, Shane.
This may be the last time we hear from him this year. Saban saw this video going viral. He's like, "What? Get in here, Pete."
Pete Golding on the recruiting pitch down there in Tuscaloosa, and on if this will be his best defense yet down there in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, Coach, I know you're not able to talk about specific recruiting in the current climate, but you're known as a very effective recruiter. What is your approach in that living room and be able to convince a kid to come to Alabama?
Hey, I work for the greatest coach of all time at the University of Alabama. What the hell's wrong with you? No. So, I think recruiting has changed a little bit over the years. I think when I was Division II and 1AA, it was about, hey, who had the best relationship, who was willing to outwork everybody else, all right? Who's the guy that's going to help them make a decision or female that's going to help them make the decision, right? And why can we do it better than anybody else? All right, well, it's still like that to some degree for some guys, but for most, let's be honest, it's not. Right? Does that make sense? So then at that point, now all they want to know is, hey, what is it in it for me? Right? So, hey, you get to learn under the leadership of the best coach to ever do it. Here's the strength and conditioning aspect of how we can make you better. So now to me, you're using more of, all right, what do I have, right, to enhance, obviously, their experience as a student athlete for them to get what they want, and that's the NFL. And in the process, how can you use the University of Alabama's brand, Nick Saban, to market your name, image, and likeness to allow you to make more money while you're enrolled as a student athlete? And I think the University of Alabama, more importantly, I think Nick Saban allows young people to be able to do that better here than anywhere else. And I think so if you got a good product and anything that you do, normally that's easier to sell. Now you still got to develop a relationship, you still got to identify it right and give them what they need, so that's a piece of it. But to me, I'm who I am, regardless who it is. And, they're either like that, they don't. It's my responsibility to provide the information for them. Hopefully we have better stuff than everybody else and they make the best decision for them. So I think it kind of does it for itself.
Hi, Pete. On paper, do you think that this team, this defense specifically, personnel-wise, has the chance to be the best, most talented group you've coached since you've been here at Alabama?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't look at all that. To be honest with you, I come in every day. How can we improve today? When I normally leave this building tonight, I feel like we're about to get our ass whooped. It's just normally that type of day, right? And then we show back up the next day, and how can we take one step? So, we're fortunate to have some good players. They still got to prepare the right way, practice the butt off so we can get it on Saturday. But we've had great players here in the past, so it's buying in, doing the right thing, competing every day, right, pulling people with you, and let's see what happens.
All right, Pete, thanks for your time.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Pete got a talking to down here. You know what?
That's right. Got his charger taken away for a few days.